Hey, everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode, he looks at the screen, 519, being recorded on October 24th. Yes, I'm Ryan Schrell.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Ken Addison.
There's some other guys over there, too.
We're just
look at the group.
The losers in the back.
Group.
Good to see you're professional, as always, really on top of the information at the top of the podcast. Got it.
So, in my credit, a long time ago, what was live was the whole TV, was the whole monitor screen, right? And so it was easy for me to see the rundown, so I could always just look up and see what the next story was.
Well, this is what happens when you're not here for a month.
Well, I mean, it's not my first time I've seen it this way. I guess I'm going.
Did you have a little, controller that you could do not just the live, but also, the images? Because we didn't have anybody behind the cameras, right?
What? You're talking about a long time ago?
A long time ago.
It was recorded. It wasn't switched live.
So remember back a long time ago, Twit handled all the production.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then after that, I'm pretty sure that's when Ken was here during that transition, and he was the guy behind there. And Ken did build his own replacement for a time.
Replacement for himself.
Yeah, he built the replacement for himself,
but it was not working.
But it wasn't fully functional, which maybe was on purpose, right? In retrospect,
I think it seems like an exact copy of myself.
That's clever. That's clever engineering, right? I'm trying to replace myself and make it cheaper for you, but not really do it. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the PC Perspective Podcast. This is where all these guys tell you about all the content that they're writing for a website called PC Perspective. I've never heard of it, but it's pretty good. They record it on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at PCPER.com/live. If you need a reminder about when the show is recorded, you can go to PCPER.com/subscribe. You get this page. It asks for your name and your email. I can't wait to sign up for it so I can get notifications about live events. And you get an email about the live streams or other events. Maybe you'll be able to interview industry personnel. All kinds of exciting things occur on that page.
We did a live PC build last week.
Actually, you guys did a live PC build and answered some like community Q&A. It was actually really cool, and the system that came out of it was actually neat too. Except for the letters being upside down.
We were only foiled by a mini ITX power supply for about 45 minutes. So
it's just two of the smarter people I know sitting there looking at screws and
wouldn't turn on because it wasn't plugged in.
That's. Let's talk about really setting the stage for the future.
To it.
It's just setting the stage for the future. It's like, wouldn't turn on because it wasn't plugged in. Yep, cool.
Yep.
There's still a Patreon campaign going at patreon.com/PCPER. I guess I'll probably have to change that picture on the front of it.
Oh,
at some point.
Please, God, donate. Please donate.
So this is your ability to become a regular, recurring monthly contributor to the website, and all the money goes directly to the writers, editors, people who are making the content that you guys consume and enjoy. At least I assume you enjoy it if you're here listening and or watching it. If not, find something else. Find something else to go with. So that's Patreon.
No, masochists are perfectly welcome.
That's patreon.com/PCPER. Check that out. We have the mailbag, PCPER.com. Nope, that's just youtube.com/PCPER. You can get the mailbag. It looks like Allyn did the last one here, mailbag number 59. Nearly 1 hour of storage discussion with Mr. Malventano. And if that
look at how high those eyebrows are arching. Obviously, he is quite interested and invested. In the discussion.
It's a serious thing when Alan's talking about storage. I believe he's wearing the same jacket presently.
I am.
Yeah,
not the same shirt,
but not the same headphones or anything too.
At least you went to Taco Bell.
Yes, I did.
Bum 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 bum. No, wait. That's not.
What's
the Taco
already
Bell
brainwashed, are we?
Chill.
Spoilers, Ryan.
Oh, sorry. I didn't get to that yet. No, wait. We already talked about this. This is the Ken and Allyn build. Did you put one too many E's in there?
Nope.
That's how they spelled geek?
Yes, that's exactly how they spelled geek.
It turns out when you want to use it as a brand name, throw an extra letter in there.
Yeah.
The Geek A50 ITX. What is the Geek A50 ITX?
It is a cheap, low cost mini ITX chassis.
Look at that sweet mug.
Yeah, right? I have it right here, too.
Yeah, the mug was awesome.
Straight out of China that kind of competes with the same form factor as the N-Case M1, which is very well known and well loved mini ITX case, but It's made entirely out of aluminum extrusions and acrylic. It was $100 shipped from China, and I think Alan and I were overall pretty impressed.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Just double check that extra power plug and make sure it's plugged into the power
Just
supply.
make sure you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you can watch our video and learn how to build it eventually.
Got 2080 Ti in there.
Yeah, the full review's incoming, thermal testing and all of that stuff. So, look forward to that. But
Look, it's Alan spinning an Allen wrench.
Yep.
That was a Phillips.
He's wearing the same jacket.
yeah.
It's getting
can't
cold
take
here.
him
That's my
anywhere.
jacket.
It's my jacket.
It's my
Could
jacket.
have been recorded the same day for all I know. All right. So that's all joshtech.com. How could I forget? Joshtech, JOSHTEKK. This is where you can get all of your t-shirts, Death Wish Raid, Hot Dog Down the Hallway, PCPER logo.
This has been
and this amazing
2 hours so far.
You got to cut
took
to
us
him.
a little
This
while to get
amazing
into it.
Vanna White mug.
It's not a bad
He's demoing it.
God damn it. Nope.
I was gonna Josh on this shot.
I was holding the mug up to my face for about 30 seconds.
Fine.
It's all about product placement, right? That's how you really get the buyers in, I've been told. But really, I can't wait
You do not have an
to
Allen
decorate all of my rooms with more of the Josh Tech print.
Hey, are you going to have an office?
Not really.
Yeah, so I don't
That's
necessarily.
unfortunate.
It's just going to put it in his bedroom. So
Yeah, I
these
mean,
components
I've
are
already got one in
coming
my
out of his
bedroom.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know
I'm
what
sure
else I
your
need.
wife and you would really appreciate.
He already has the Josh. Ryan has the
some
Josh Tech
inspiration
print.
sometimes.
The Josh Tech print is like right above his headboard.
The
Between
I put it next to my picture of Jesus.
It's weird. You put it on the ceiling. I'm
the
not
Wookiee-
really
Wookiee
sure
Jesus, though,
why, but
I actually, so this size is only, what is it? It's only because it's 24 by 30, but because we had access earlier to the system, I made it like 120 by 150, right? I wanted a real impactful.
You did not want mirrors on your ceiling. You wanted Josh Tech.
yes.
I don't want to get into this. So joshtech.com. Go there. Support that. So I'm sitting here to tell you about all this stuff, I guess. I'm leaving PC Perspective. Some of you may have thought that happened months ago, based on my
You just watched the
relative
podcast.
absence from the podcast. And
That was because you were doing Shroud research stuff. Though.
yeah, I was just traveling a lot and I was doing Shroud research. I'm actually now, if you read this post, it's on the homepage at PCPER.com, stepping away from both PC Perspective and Shroud research, turning over all the editorial control to this group of people that you see here, as well as those on the on Skype, as well as like financial control of all this. This is your problem to deal with now. Have fun with all this. And also Shroud Research as well, in order to take a job at Intel. I'm going to start there in mid-November as the Chief Performance Analyst, which
That's
sounds
a big
fancy.
title.
it sounds good, doesn't
Yep.
it?
Sounds good.
I am the CPS at Intel.
It sounds good enough for you to leave all of us to try to right this ship from hitting the iceberg.
Oh, he would have left us for a C, let alone a P or an S.
The general idea of the role is that I am going to kind of help with the performance and competitive analysis groups across the Intel portfolio, not just CPUs, but as they venture into GPUs and storage and other things like that. So it's actually a really awesome opportunity. It's something that I wasn't out looking for, something that I was approached about, and it took some convincing. For example, people have been asking in the chat, am I moving? Which Intel office am I going to? I'm not moving. I'm actually going to stay out here, committing to like 1 week a month in San Jose long term. There will be some initial ramp up period where I'm out there for 3 of the first 6 months, or some combination of that, just to meet people, figure out the system. Keep in mind, I've never worked for a company before. I've been self-employed since I was 17 years old, and this will probably be a little
Well,
bit
you
of a
did
system
work for a
shock.
mom and pop shop, didn't you?
until
You had
I was
bosses.
17. Yeah.
Yeah.
They fired me
you
for
got
working on
experience.
PC
You're good.
Perspective or AMDMB at the time, or whatever, K7M.com. I don't remember what it was called back then when I was 17
Well,
years
Ken
old.
tried that, but he came screaming back to us in no time at all.
Apparently, corporate life didn't suit him.
I
You know,
didn't work in corporate life.
yeah, it'll happen. So,
You were startup life, Ken.
that's true. That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
That's a whole different ballgame.
I'm not going to walk through this editorial that I wrote and get all sappy and teary-eyed on everybody here, but it like,
Hey, Ryan,
yeah, Josh.
how dare you leave me with them?
Yeah, no, I thought of you first, Josh, when I was making this decision.
Yes,
And immediately
Josh
said
into the
yes.
oh, Josh, yeah.
In fact, that was part of the pitch. It's like, well, you can come work with us, or you can keep working with Josh Walworth. And I was like, ooh, you know what? That's a good point. Like, you know, you put 19 years into something. It's been through some variations, and obviously Shroud Research came around in the last 2 or 3 years and changed a lot of what I was spending my time on, which is why there were more podcasts without me, why I seem to be gone forever. And like this is truly, like, for me, an opportunity that sounds amazing, right? I get to go into this company, and it's not an entry-level role. I don't want to say that in a derogatory way, but I get to go in a position where I feel like I'm going to be able to have some impact on products they're developing, how they're messaging, and all these different types of things. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm really looking forward to that. And it has a side benefit as well as, because I've been gone so long, and everybody's noticed how often I've been gone, like, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I've traveled more this year than I've ever traveled my whole life. And I was like, you know what? If there's a time to do this, this is the time. It allows me to be home more with my family. You know, my daughter, 3.5, every time I come back from a trip, she's talking better, and it's a little bit unnerving, right? And I want to be there for more of that. My wife has been incredibly supportive through all of this, you know, because she's basically held down the fort the whole time. You know, I've gone 2 weeks at a time very often, in very, you know, awful places like Maui and like F1 races and things, and she knows what suffering I have to go through, and she's willing to make up for that. And I'm incredibly appreciative of that. And this, I think, gives us you know, a little bit different makeup for the future. So I'm really looking forward to it. But that does mean, because of that, I can't do this podcast anymore. Let me tell you about how amazing Intel products are. I was just overlooking at the chat. Oh, it's time to get out?
Ken's kicking him off.
Wow, Ken, you actually GTFO'd him.
I know.
Let the record show.
So, you know, it's like,
So much for your sweet intern position.
That's for the mineral oil.
yeah, exactly. It never really happened. There was a tweet, when I tweeted about this, there was one where I think it was a tweet where he replied like something to the effect of, we'll all remember that event that never happened, but all of us actually remember happening when Ken was covered in mineral
I'm not
oil.
even sure it didn't happen.
And yeah, it's not.
Everybody
it's not
vividly remembers this by now. that it
Yes,
happened.
everybody remembers
Yeah.
it, even though it never happened.
Yes.
So what I want to say is, like, it's important for me to, like, I don't start at Intel until, mid to late November, but the editorial control, the financial control, the ownership, all that stuff is being transferred out. I'm not selling the website to anybody necessarily. I'm just simply kind of giving it to the guys that are here that want to continue on with it. And I'm grateful for that. PCPER is like, it's like a 19-year-old child of mine that's been, that I grew up, and now I just say, get the hell out of the house.
It's family.
Yeah,
Except the dad left home.
Yeah. I'm leaving.
Beat
Don't worry,
dad.
Josh. I'll be back next week. I got to go get some cigarettes. Right?
Oh, dear Lord.
But I don't want to have any ambiguity about it. I don't want people having questions about the stuff that they're doing or what have you. So it's not an immediate thing. I didn't have a document drawn up to transfer it over to Jim or Allyn or Ken or whoever. That's all being handled. It will all be done before that. But, I also think it's fair to say that for the past at least couple of months, I have had almost no input into what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank God.
Like I would come in and I'd be like, so how's the 2080 look? And you're like, it's okay. It does this and this and this. Like, oh, cool, great. And then I'd go back to doing whatever the Strout Research thing, the project I was working on.
And to clarify, Strout Research is being killed. It's not being transferred to us. Like
That's true. Yeah.
You can't have the Strout Research without the Strout. So
I thought it was becoming Josh Tech Research.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Hey, you get those business cards made up and you never know what might happen if you dream hard enough. So Strout Research is just kind of going to stop, right? Basically, we were at a stopping point with the projects we were at, all the deals we had with the people that, basically called them all last week and said, hey, we're done. They said, yep, cool, good luck, happy for you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just kind of where it is. And now that's it. Read that editorial. If you guys have questions for me, like I'm still on Twitter at Ryan Shrout, and you can email me.
You're gonna have some free time here coming up.
rshrout@gmail.com is where my regular email address will be. So yeah, I don't know. I hope everybody was okay with it. No, I was surprised. The response has been mostly, pretty much almost exclusively positive. The Reddit comments, the Twitter replies and stuff. It is very much like, hey, good luck, do good work there, make the industry better, et cetera. And obviously, it's gonna take me a little while to ramp up and figure out what I'm doing. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll come back on the podcast as a guest. Me and Tom will come back, and some of these guys will have now we'll have to fight though instead of being friends.
Right.
Oh man.
Right.
Hey, well, Brian.
In 2020, when you get that 10 nanometer nailed,
I can't even make comments anymore. I'm not even allowed to say anything.
Ryan, not saying anything. I haven't gone through the HR. I was offered a job, but they just couldn't afford me.
Ryan hasn't even gone through sexual harassment training yet.
I don't think that's how job offers work.
And then once Ryan does go through sexual harassment training, he can't talk to Josh anymore ever. So,
yeah, that's true. Like, I know I have to go through this indoctrination to corporate life at some point, right? Where I go through
planning
HR
to plan.
I have.
You get the barcode in the back of your head. You get the chip implanted.
I just, I've never been to an HR program. I've never listened to how it just
authority,
all this. Well, that too, but all the stuff that goes along with it. It's all.
Consider
it's all
yourself
new to
very
me,
fortunate,
and it's learning. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
When you visit Santa Clara.
Yeah.
How many bottles of bourbon are you allowed in your travel on?
Well, they have to be under 3 ounces.
But I don't think there's a limit.
Really? There's no a total?
I don't think so. I think you could fill a bag, fill your carry-on with 3-ounce bottles.
I'm pretty sure that I could just buy some when I get to Santa Clara, right? Like they do sell bourbon in Santa Clara. I'm not moving, right? So it's 1 week a month. I go out there and I don't know what I kept trying to tell you what I'm going to do out there. I have no idea. I have no clue what this is going to be like, but I'm excited.
He's going to do good stuff.
And I hope everybody is excited for me, and I hope everybody is understanding and is like, hey, do good, do well, man. And they're not all mad at me. So I'm gonna leave this seat now, and I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go watch baseball and watch the chat, I guess, and see if you guys all talk behind my back.
You don't got to watch the chat.
It'll be the first podcast you're not on that you've listened to. I mean, if you had been listening to him all these years, there's no way we'd still be here.
If I was listening, I probably would have canceled the show a long time ago, perhaps. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so I'll disconnect. And like I said, I'm not. It's not a memoriam. I'm not dying. I'm just walking away.
It's just moving on.
Bye, guys.
Play the theme for the original Incredible Hulk.
Hold on, I gotta do this. Now I hear nothing. I see many things. I'll always be watching. Fear that. Do you need these headphones? I guess so.
You're waking me out, man.
QR code looks excited.
That whole thing really play on audio.
This tape isn't as good as real gaff.
Be sure to tell them that the chat is doing F for respects.
Yeah.
Feel that.
Lots of apps.
Ryan.
Oh, that's cheap ass
Ryan,
tape.
the chat is pressing F to pay their respects.
Like seriously, can I
Couple
like
of
grab
people
this
are
real quick?
accidentally hitting the U key, but you know.
Grab what real quick?
So we should just start the podcast over.
Nope. I was trying to grab the
Holy
chat.
cow, it's Jim and
good luck.
not Alan.
Yes, all right.
Yep.
Ryan Schraub's reign of terror is over. Welcome
The king
to
is
AMD
dead.
Perspective.
Long live the king.
Do we have the new graphic?
Here we go.
Yeah, turn the background.
I am
Gets turned
starting
red.
my
No, not blue,
Josh
red.
Tech
Not blue.
virus right
No,
now.
turn it red. There you
Oh yeah, because
yeah, there you go.
There's no
Okay.
longer-
There you go.
All right.
blue.
There
It
you go.
sized the blue from the building.
Sweet.
Balance a Threadripper
I'll
on
have to
top of
change
the
the
TV.
logo now. Damn it.
Here we got one of those sitting over there.
Ken, change your shirt. It's too blue.
What's the
You're
shortcut
blending.
button for changing
I
tabs?
don't know.
It's control page up, page.
Oh, the
Don't
tab.
listen to him.
God, what is up with all the blue?
All right, so
Well, it's kind of our site color.
Yeah.
We might have to change that.
that wasn't smart. We'll deal with that in short order.
There's also green and white in
Just
there.
edit that in post, Alex.
Well, how's everybody doing?
Green?
I'm
I mean,
pasty white. Thanks
good.
for asking.
All right. Well, let's just continue on in good spirits here, and let's talk about something that we have. There's no relation to anything we've just talked about, but Ken has a processor review for us.
Yes, Ken does. So,
Hey, Ken, why don't you tell us about the Intel 990K, 9900?
999.
are we talking about the Intel Core
9999.
You
9900K?
butchered that, Josh. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
The
it's
Intel
late
over
in the evening.
9000, okay?
That actually worked very well coming from
That
a
worked out
Canadian.
really well.
Ryan is holding his ears just so everyone's on the level. So
And I can attest because I know there's going to be questions. I can attest. Ryan had absolutely no involvement in this review. He wasn't even here.
Well, Ryan's been
Ken
posting
was
less
here
content
till
than
like
Josh.
2 a.m, just downing
away.
shots of bourbon.
Yeah, he hasn't even
getting this
seen the
review
he hasn't
done.
even seen the CPU,
Yeah.
like the box or anything. It was all Ken.
yeah.
So did you put numbers on the box and then start rolling characters?
No, because they didn't actually send us the hexagonal
Oh,
acrylic
yeah.
box.
What?
That's the
Yeah, we
final
don't have
result.
the real-
You're
the real box.
effing me.
No.
I didn't.
We have the cheesy version of the box.
Okay,
It's just a standard
Ryan,
retail box?
thing number one to do at Intel, retail packaging to reviewers.
Yes.
Because I've got to roll a character, and I'm going to be a barbarian.
Well, I mean,
No, wait, paladin.
Sometimes
Okay, well, he's not listening.
sometimes the retail
And-
packaging just isn't ready. That's like
yeah.
for SSDs and stuff. That's what usually happens with me. So like, it's not,
Yeah,
Sure.
but the packaging is
Comes in an
always
old
ready
sock?
for STDs.
See, like once we do HR training, none of us can talk to you. So none of us are allowed to do HR
outside
training.
of this.
Oh, no, it's fine. I think I'm the HR person.
PC Perspective is never allowed to get to the point where we
Well, this is
actually
going
have.
well, Jim.
Yeah,
like
all right. So
HR.
Ken, so let's talk about this Intel processor.
So Intel last Friday finally launched the Core i9-9900K, the long rumored and leaked 8-core, 16-thread mainstream processor built on the same Coffee Lake technology, the same Skylake microarchitecture with the same 14-nanometer plus process technology as we saw. We've been seeing for a while now.
Really getting their
Coffee Lake
mileage
and
out of
Gabby
this,
Lake
aren't
and
they?
Skylake. Yeah, that's one way to put it. It's almost like they were expecting to have radically different process technology by now, and maybe the product landscape will have looked different.
Yeah.
Major changes include the move back to a soldered thermal interface material. More on that later.
Yeah, that's some interesting
That's
stuff to
something
talk
that's
about
been
there.
demanded a lot by the community over the years since they switched in about, I don't know, when did they switch? Like Broadwell-ish, maybe before that, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
it was the 5000 series. They went to the non-TIM, the 4000
It would've been the
series were
4000. It would've
still
been Haswell.
soldered.
I think it would have been Haswell, because I think the
They didn't have any
4790K had the like better TIM in it. But anyways,
Yeah.
So move back to solder for the thermal interface material, which in theory should help for stuff like with power draw and thermals at stock operation give you a little more overclocking headroom. We'll look at the overclocking results a little later in the review, but same sort of chipset situation. All 300 series chipsets are compatible. The Z390 is the new quote unquote chipset they're launching. Has all of the same functionality as the Z370 chipset, but adds native USB 3.1 Gen 2 10 gigabit support and Intel.
How are those PCIe lanes?
The same. You still have the same 16 lanes coming out the CPU and the DMI 3.0 link hooking up to the chipset.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel disappointed.
Yeah.
It would be very nice to see a couple of more PCIe lanes. Although,
because you know what?
I don't know what you use them for anymore.
Well, the storage, right? You want to
Sure.
get those dual graphics at 16
Well,
and the
nobody
storage.
does dual graphics anymore.
Well, okay, that's true.
NVIDIA doesn't want you to do dual graphics anymore. It's
AMD certainly does not want you to do that.
yeah. I don't know. There seems to be more or less and less of a reason as we go ahead in time to hook up additional PCI Express devices, but it would still be nice to have the option in a, let's say, $500 processor plus a fairly expensive platform in the Z390 boards. The MSI MPG Z390 Gaming Edge AC motherboard that we took a look at weighed in just about under $200. I think it was about 180 when the review went live. We'll see what it is currently. If Newegg would load, 189. It's actually a pretty feature-packed motherboard. Kind of had everything that we expected from higher-end Z370 motherboards, but sort of a new design and some additional VRM design to handle the 8-core processor. And for under $200, it actually seemed to be a pretty good option. Testing went smooth for it, so if you're happen to be on the lookout for a Z390 board, you can check that one out. Beyond that, we compared this. We kind of took an interesting approach with this review. We compared the 9900K to AMD's top mainstream processor, the 2700X. Obviously makes sense. And then we compared it to the two lower end HEDT parts. So the Threadripper 2950X and the Core i9-9900X, as well as the previous generation 8700K, the 6-core 12-thread part. So if we take a look at the results, we'll just kind of go for generalities here instead of looking at every single chart. But far and away, it's the fastest single-thread processor we've ever tested. It has the same Skylake microarchitecture, but is running at much higher clock speeds. The single-core boost is 5 gigahertz for this part.
Thank goodness for 14 nanometer plus plus.
Yeah, plus.
Yeah, plus.
We saw that same 5 gigahertz number rated on the 8086K, but personally, we never saw an 8086K ever hit that. This part definitely does hit that.
Before you go on, can I ask you a personal favor? This is really personal.
Sure.
Can you work on the spacing of that graph at the bottom?
Nope. The scale.
Nope. That's how it has to be.
Ken had a stroke.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000.
It's perfectly human readable. Let me look at it.
There's plenty of space around zero.
Just look at it. God.
Listen, at least the chart ends at 0 and not like, 4,000.
Yeah.
So Ken,
00020003000.
go back up to that graph for a second. These are all out of the box, stock clocked, straight defaults, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is single core
with like a decent cooler on all of them, I think.
Yeah, we use a 240 millimeter radiator and H100i.
Yeah.
All-in-one water cooler. So plenty of thermal headroom.
Not like cheesy stock coolers.
Right.
Basically. So we're giving them all
you don't get a stock cooler with the Intel part.
Well, but we're giving them all a fighting
Honestly,
chance.
there's only one processor here you get a stock cooler with. I guess a 7700K. No.
When did Intel stop doing that?
7700
Only
does
the
not get the stock.
2700X.
Only the 2700X.
Yeah, gives you a stock cooler.
Well, and that stock cooler is a pretty nice cooler.
Absolutely. I love that stock cooler. You can even get some overclocking headroom out of that thing. But besides the point, in general, you can scroll through some of these charts, Jim. The next page is probably a little more interesting if we take a look at that. In general, single thread performance, this processor...
The whole next page?
Yeah, the whole next page. Is far and away faster than any other option due to the clock speed increase. And in multi-threaded, there's an interesting race between the 9900K and the 7900X, which is the Skylake X 10-core 20-thread part. Now, you would think that would easily win a multi-threaded benchmark because it has 2 more cores and 4 more threads. However, due to the sort of lower-end clock speeds that processor is running at, it actually trades blows with the 9900K in most benchmarks, which is an interesting value proposition, considering the 7900X is still a $1,000 CPU.
Yeah.
With a much more expensive platform behind it. Now, you get certain advantages like more PCIe lanes going with the 7900X, but if you're just looking for a good balance of pure threaded throughput and price, the 9900K becomes a little more compelling. And it's interesting to say that a $500 processor could provide price value. But that's sort of what I'm basing this off of, is getting the best single-threaded performance and multi-thread performance that's on par with $1,000 class processors. There are actually a couple benchmarks where the 9900K was in the same ballpark as the 16-core 2950X. Now, I'll say in general, the 2950X wins here, which makes sense. I mean, it has double the core count. So in multi-thread benchmarks, it's going to be the obvious winner. But if we skip ahead a couple pages and look at gaming performance, the story is a bit different. Now, the controversy around this launch was that Intel was advertising the 9900K as the world's fastest gaming processor. And in general, it seems that claim can be verified.
Was it fast or
Technically.
best? Fastest or best gaming processor? I don't remember which way that claim went.
Sure. I don't know what best means besides fastest in this scenario.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It'll make your games look 2x better. I mean, that's not the thing. So
It'll give you a sense of pride and accomplishment.
yeah.
So we have this graph here. We're looking at the i9-9900K, 113,
999.
and you have the 27X, 105.
Yeah.
2700X, yeah.
What's the price delta on this span?
About
$200.
$200. Yeah.
Right.
You can get the 2700X for $300 these days. The 9900K, you'd be lucky to find for $500. That's kind of the retail price, but
And then tack on a cooler, because you're going to need a cooler for it.
Absolutely.
So that,
Yeah.
So the story here is bang for the buck. You're probably better off with 2700X.
That's kind of the general consensus here is the 9900K is the fastest in the benchmarks. And for some games, it absolutely does matter. Like if you look at Civ 12, you look at GTA 5, these are more CPU-bound games where you can see an advantage. However, I've been doing some testing at higher resolutions, and, at higher resolutions, the bottleneck shifts to the GPU, which is why we test games at 1080p for CPU reviews.
Yep.
So it's kind of a trade-off. Are you going to buy a $500 processor and have a 1080p monitor? Probably not. Are you going to buy a $500 processor and have a GPU that is substantially overpowered for the resolution you're running? Probably not. You're going to spend more money on the GPU before you do on the CPU.
Yeah.
So you're not losing any gaming performance for the 900K, but sort of the claims of it being the fastest gaming performance, while technically true, I would argue don't particularly matter to a lot of individuals. Now, you could be somebody who does primary 3D graphics works and you play games on the side, so you might game at 1080p with a graphics card that won't be a GPU bottleneck, but that's not the vast majority of people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and a lot of people get caught up in like what quote wins versus what technically is fastest in a certain circumstance. But when was the last time that the highest end offering from Intel was the best value?
Never.
Pretty much never, right? I mean, at least not in any modern era of competition between these platforms. I mean, yeah, if you're looking for the best bang for your buck, it's going to be. I mean, there was a time where the Pentium, that was the G
2560 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Where that was like, in terms of its cost, first performance was the best buy, and now you're looking at Ryzen as being extremely competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of finishing out, taking a look at power consumption, we saw substantially higher power consumption coming from the 9900K than compared to the 8700K. It's interesting because they're both rated at the same 95 watts. Now, there's been a bit of back and forth in the community about different motherboard BIOSes doing different things. We're still doing some investigating into that. But
Well,
I think in
even
general, you're going to see a bit more power draw out of this processor.
The 8700K it's a 95 watt TDP.
Yeah.
But if you go to ARC and if you look at the manual that comes with it, it recommends a 135 watt capacity cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, TDP does not mean power consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it used to more on the Intel side, and they're kind of seem to be walking back from that a little bit.
Look at
AMD
that
becomes competitive.
7700K.
Yeah.
Remember when we used to talk about that against the FX 8350 and how efficient that was, and especially the super overclocked 9000 series FXs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at it.
That's why I threw the 7700K into this review, because I mean, when the 7700K launched, it was a universally praised part at its quad core limitations because there was no competition. And now, like, you look at the 7700K and it's just kind of a pile of junk in a lot of scenarios.
Well, how long has it been?
Not to say that you might need to upgrade it if you're just doing gaming, but like you can get so much more now for not a lot of money. If you look at the 2700X for $300 with a good stock cooler in the box, like it's an enormous value.
Mm-hmm. It is, but I'm just talking the power draw.
Yeah.
How we have swung in the face of competition from AMD.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they didn't have a choice, because they obviously did, but AMD has always been a little bit more power hungry, and certainly 2700X is a fine example of being power hungry. But holy cow, that 9900K is like FX 9000 series type power draw.
No, we're getting back up there for sure. Speaking of power draw, let's take a look at the overclocking results. So at stock, the 9900K ran at 4.7 gigahertz on all cores on the motherboard, the MSI motherboard we tested with. Now, Intel doesn't spec the all-core turbo frequency to anyone anymore, of course, except to motherboard manufacturers under kind of tight NDA. But if you just load all of the cores and look at the CPU frequency, we could figure out that it seems to be about 4.7 is what it would hit on all cores reliably. Overclocked, we're only able to get an additional 300 megahertz out of it, which seems low.
This thing is spec'd to the limit. I mean,
yeah,
it's running along the raggedy edge.
Yeah. So I mean, we were able to get to 5 gigahertz across all 8 cores, but I mean, we were a couple of degrees north of 90 degrees Celsius, which is not a place you'd want to be running often. So I mean, you could probably get 4.9 out of it reliably, but at that point, is the extra 200 megahertz worth the overclock? Because in stock scenarios, we were still hitting in the 70s.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of information about this. Dare Bauer did a good video. Gamers Nexus is doing good content around. Well, they use solder TIM, but there are a bunch of other trade-offs in the design, and as it turns out, it doesn't really matter. If you still want excellent thermals, you're going to want to delid it. There's now you lap the IHS on the inside to make better contact with the heat spreader, and there's still a whole bunch of tips and tricks you could do to get the power consumption and heat down, the heat down, but do not buy this chip thinking it's going to be a great overclocker just because it has solder TIM in it. Essentially,
that's still 8 cores faster than the previous version. I mean, the 6-core one on mine, it ran 4.6 overclocked before it would become thermal limited. And this thing's doing 5. You said you got it to 5 at 90 across all.
Yeah.
That's damn impressive.
I mean, it's not bad for 8 cores being flung around like that.
I honestly do think that the stock clocks are pretty aggressive and actually provide pretty decent balance between performance and temperature draw. So, I mean, I was surprised to see it running at 4.7 out of the box. I think it's a pretty good out-of-box scenario, and that you probably shouldn't mess with overclocking these parts, as kind of disappointing as that is. Speaking of maybe picking one of these up, pricing and availability. I haven't seen the CPU for sale under $530. It's currently not available anywhere. There are apparently some more coming in, maybe in the next week or so. I was seeing scuttlebutt about.
There's one on the desk right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they did make some because we have one, but Yeah, this seems to be sort of the same situation as the 8700K launch, where it's going to take months to stabilize, if not a little longer.
I still seriously remember when the Pentium 2 was released, they had been stocking warehouses for 6 months before the launch.
Yeah.
So when they actually launched it, all the OEMs had it. It was available online, but that was 1998, 99.
Yeah.
And, there was not nearly as the online presence there was, but you could buy them. You had to do a 440 FX motherboard, which is crap. Let's hear it for EDO RAM on Pentium 2. But yeah, Intel has changed, and they've had to change with the times, and they were simply not able to stockpile these for launch as they had for previous generations. And that's kind of been the sense for, since from the 7700K. I mean, that one was had plenty of stock in hand, it seems. But yeah, the 8700 and then now this one.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things going on at Intel.
Yeah.
And we know a lot about it. I mean, Charlie's talked about it pretty much ad nauseum, and for good reason. But it's going to be interesting to see the landscape in the next year and a half.
Yeah. Wrapping this up, I do think the 9900K it's a really good part. It provides awesome single-threaded performance, the best single-threaded performance we've seen, while providing kind of punching above its class in multi-threaded performance, beating a lot of more expensive processors. But, I mean, it's a great part. It's $500. I think $500 is an all right value for this part. I think it's a fair asking price. Do I think everyone should buy it? No. Do I think that people who are looking to build higher end PCs will like this part? I do. Do I think the 2700X is a substantially better value and probably a better fit for most people? Absolutely.
And don't buy it over $500.
Yes, absolutely. Do not buy
for
it
retail
at
prices
on
to stabilize. Don't pay that.
Yeah, not only
surcharge.
can you get a CPU and a motherboard, but you can actually get them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good part, bad price.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Ken. And I'm sure we'll have more to talk about soon.
Yeah.
So next step is we have a review from. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't see that little screen. We're gonna have to make that bigger.
It's your own screen, Jim.
No, I mean I can't see the rundown. Make sure I'm on the right tab. So we've got a review from Christopher Koch, and it's the Turtle Beach Elite Pro 2 headset and SuperAmp. It's a
SuperAmp.
Yeah, it's a like a sort of a gamer live streamer kind of focused product. I've never used one of these, but Chris gave it a really good review. He says it's super comfortable, lightweight. He says at one point in here, I think he says something like he was able to wear it for hours and hours and not have any of that fatigue on his ears or his head. And he said he's never
better than cats. He could listen to it again and again.
Better than what?
Cats.
Pay no attention to the Josh.
Okay.
Not a sound from the pavement. Yes.
But yeah. So, okay.
Thanks for that.
So it's got the attached mic. I do know he said that the mic was a little quiet. It was clear, but the default levels are a little bit low. Something to make sure that you can compensate for that if you're going to be using it to record. But overall, the only issue with it is that it's a premium price product. It's $250.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Does that come with the amp?
With the amp, yeah.
Well,
Packaged with the amp.
Wait,
Better
go
at
back up.
least.
Go back up.
Oop.
Go back up. An errant bracket appears.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
But yeah, so it's
Look at the size of that microphone.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it seems like, again, this is Chris doesn't he's remote, so we didn't get a chance to get this hands on, but going through his review, he really liked this. Gave it a positive review. It has a dedicated Turtle Beach software so that you can do a little bit of EQ and adjusting the levels and gains and even adjusting the LEDs that are on it. So it's nice to have that kind of control. I think this is a PC software. I thought it was when I was looking at a screenshot.
It looks like an app.
It looked like a mobile app, but
Yeah.
he just put it together to Photoshop the different screens together. But that's a PC app. So he says, yeah, I mean, you know, if you're going to ask $250, it better be good. And he says, Turtle Beach gets it. Great headset, checks all the boxes, comfortable, built like a tank, and feature rich. It's got stereo, it's got simulated surround sound. You know, I'm not a big fan in general of these sort of like gamer style, you know, surround sound, built-in mic kind of headsets. I've bought a few over the years. Maybe I just didn't get one that was this good, but
I think they've gotten a lot better. I think they've kind of had to improve their products as there's been way more competition.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I mean, maybe it's time to try these again. But as far as Chris is concerned, this is one to look at if you're looking at that price range. If that's in your budget, you're looking for a high quality, well built headset. It's the Turtle Beach. Sorry, what was the full name of the product again? Turtle Beach Elite Pro 2.
That's not a great name.
SuperAmp.
That's a great.
Come on, Turtle Beach. They've been around forever.
It's amazing the pivot they were able to make about 10 years ago into this kind of console-centric market, which is insane to think about Turtle Beach being a name brand for console gamers. Yeah. Right?
Well, when did Windows or Microsoft basically kill most of the benefit of having a third-party sound card? It was like Vista or 7?
So it was Vista. They redid the entire audio stack to cut out hardware acceleration in certain things.
Yeah.
But now they can get around that again.
Okay.
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh. All right.
Everything that was old is now new again.
All right. Next up. I'm hitting the wrong buttons here.
Oh, no.
All right. So AMD, along
and now a word from our sponsor, Intel. Right? Come on, back up.
So rough day for the markets, and AMD got hit as well. They released their earnings and missed their estimated earnings, I believe.
I mean, if you want me to talk, I can.
Absolutely,
you should.
Jim, you're such a nice young man. Oh, anyway, I guess you'd want me to talk about AMD Q3 earnings.
Well, you covered their earnings report, and you wrote this up for us. So yes, please, Josh, go ahead.
I'm not nearly as hairy as you, so I don't know if I have the expertise here.
Okay.
Josh, you're not making a good impression on your new employers.
No,
Well, I thought this was like some
nor
sort of
have I
commune
for the
where we're
last
all
10
in it
years.
together.
No.
You got to
This
keep
is a job
expectations
interview.
reasonable.
Yeah.
exactly. So anyway, AMD shockingly announced the results today, and they're at the lower end of what they had kind of talked about in Q2. Now, Q2 was a pretty strong result for them. I think $1.76 billion in revenues, and they had $116 million in net. It was a good quarter. I mean, probably one of the best quarters that they've had in a long time. And so people were expecting that, hey, you know, we've had this good quarter. Q3 is usually better. Q4 is even better. And that's not the way that things kind of shook out. Instead, AMD had a $1.65 billion quarter, a full $110 million less than the quarter before. And this is kind of strange, and this raised a lot of concern from investors and analysts alike. And to add upon that, they decided to tell us that Q4 was going to probably be around $1.45 billion, so $200 million less than Q3. And this has caused all kinds of alarms, and but there's some good reasons behind that, and stuff that they talked about in Q2 has really kind of come to pass. Now, back then they told us that, you know, cryptocurrency is dropped off the map. I mean, it essentially demand has become zero for AMD cards. And we knew that coming in. And that was probably the biggest drop in Q3. Now, when we look at the actual financials, they've done some really positive things. Ryzen continues to sell, both in desktop and mobile. We have had an increase in the server with Epic. It hasn't been gangbusters. It hasn't been huge. It's not a slam dunk quite yet, but it did increase the amount of money that it brought into the company. Their IP and semi-custom did well. Semi-custom is a little down, but their IP licensing has gone up. So even though they're $100 million less than last quarter, they still made something like $103 million in net income, which is pretty good as compared to $116 million last quarter when they had a whole lot more money come in. There's all kinds of reasons for this. I mean, Ryzen's still strong. Ryzen Mobile is growing. EPYC is growing. GPU, because of crypto, has gone down, but they're still selling IP and semi-custom. Semi-custom is one of those things where you're at the whim of the console makers because they're supplying both PS4 and Microsoft Xbox One. They're still getting plenty of revenue and royalties for those, but those consoles have been out for a couple of years. A lot of people own them, and so sales are going to go down, and there's no reason to upgrade them right now. So AMD they have a nice piece of income coming in, but it's not as nice as it was. But their core business of CPUs has done very, very well. Ryzen has done great. I mean, it's not overwhelming like in 2003, 2004 with the Athlon 64. It is competitive. They have some cost advantages. And probably when you look at this at the very end, the thing that really sticks out most is that AMD, through their ability to cut costs, to really make efficient their production, 12 nanometer apparently is yielding fantastic. Their margins rose from 36% last month to 40% this month, and that's a huge jump in just one quarter. Now, part of that is their IP stuff has, if you took that out, they really only jumped from 36% to 38%. But it kind of shows that AMD is able to monetize what they have much more effectively than what they have in the past. So they're moving in the right direction. They're making less money in revenue, but they've readjusted kind of their business so that they still can make a profit. And they're still growing. And they're still scratching market share from Intel. Maybe not as much as people had hoped, but it's there. A couple of things coming up, even though they're doing less money probably next quarter, we've got a few things coming up behind there. EPYC 2 is going to start shipping. They've got 7 nanometer Vega for the data center that they're going to be doing. And then 2019 looks to be really interesting for them. EPYC 2, again, is going to be shipping in 7 nanometer. That's going to be the first product. They're going to be pushing that hard against the 14 nanometer Xeons. And then after that, we're going to see the 7 nanometer Navi.
I say Navi. I don't know.
Navi.
I'm going to say Navi because...
Isn't that the blue people from that James Cameron movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought
they
it
got
was Feliz
poison arrows and
Navidad.
stuff. And they're large, strong, and carbon fiber bones and crap like that. It's going to be in the first half of 2019, it looks like. They've got products in the lab. They say it's going well. Whether or not it can compete against the RTX products in the mid-range and high-end, we have yet to see. And plus, we have yet to see if RTX will take off as well in terms of software support. Also, probably at the end of first half, we will see these 7 nanometer Ryzen, Zen 2 based products for the desktop and mobile. And they're going to have 5, 6, 7 months advantage in time to market over Intel's, what they call their kind of new 10 nanometer process. That's a discussion for another day. But
Sure.
AMD had a good, solid quarter. It was not what analysts were hoping, people were really hoping that Epic would take off a lot faster than it has, but it hasn't, just because Xeon is still good. Epic doesn't offer anything at 12 nanometer or 14 nanometer, whichever one that this current part is based at, over what Intel has. And so
it offers a cost benefit.
It does, but that goes so far because
you have to be ready to
VMware
upgrade.
and all these other guys, have been working with Intel hand in hand at the high performance part, and then they got seriously 97% market share of these kind of servers. So,
and I've read
it's
too
a big
that,
hill to climb.
Yeah, I've read a lot of companies too that they're using Epic to get a lower price from Intel. They've been longtime Intel customers, and they say, hey, we could go to Epic. What can you do for us? And I'm sure that's not helping there. But also, Josh, what do you think about Ryzen notebooks? Those haven't really.
I know.
Oh.
No, they haven't taken off yet. And, I'd be really curious if AMD could add any kind of color to the ratio of Ryzen sold, whether it's, the non-APU Ryzens, the 2700s, 2600s, versus, the APU ones versus mobile. We don't have that kind of information. And we really would like that from a financial point of view, because look at my cat.
She's all right back there.
Yeah, I think she's fine, but it's
For
so
those
nice
listening-
that she likes to keep me company.
For those listening to audio only, there is a
We're
cat
just hoping
scratching
that
itself.
like the Christmas refresh for a bunch of the lines from MSI, Asus, HP, Dell are actually going to at least offer one Ryzen.
They've been getting a lot of design wins, especially this year, second half of the year. But you know what they need to do? They need to support it with drivers. They need to support it with updated graphics drivers. Because for at least about the first year of Ryzen Mobile, there's maybe one graphics driver release, if that. I don't know if they ever actually put one out.
I mean,
It's
AMD.
unacceptable.
Intels aren't exactly constant either.
Intel released more Kaby Lake G with Vega graphics
Well,
drivers
okay, I'll give you that.
than AMD released Ryzen Mobile graphics drivers.
But for their HD drivers, I mean, they do them for about a year or so and just say, screw it. Maybe we'll put one out.
That could very
once a year.
well be the case.
And that's just got to be the reality of a company, with the limited resources of AMD not having the ability to keep those software teams going. Like you look at NVIDIA and they're putting out drivers all the time, and Intel's getting more serious about it in terms of graphics.
And I mean, in every other area, AMD has definitely stepped up their software game. The driver releases are way more regular, more stable, but it's just like notebook is this thing off to the side that is kind of getting ignored. And
which is unfortunate because that is potentially a huge piece of growth that they could grab a hold of, but they just, breaking into these OEMs and mobile parts is really, really tough. Intel has got that just kind of locked up. And, eventually, I mean, we do see some products from the big guys, HP, Dell, Lenovo, I think has some AMD parts, but they're not pushed as kind of the pinnacle, part that they have, even though they're still very good products. But it's AMD still has a mountain to climb, and Q3 was solid for them. They made money. They're expanding kind of their horizons, especially with Epic. It's growing slowly but steadily. So it was not a tough quarter. It was not a great quarter, but it's we're looking forward to Q4 being lower. Their stock price is probably going to go lower, but I think the important part is going to be looking towards Q1 when Epic 7 nanometer is going to start rolling out, and if OEMs and their partners start seeing more advantages towards AMD's Zen 2 based Epic parts on 7 nanometer than what Intel is able to offer at 14 or plus or whatever they decided to do at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Josh. Appreciate it. And I'm sure you'll let us know.
Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Let's keep it PG. Oh dear.
Well, there we go.
Okay. Well.
That wasn't me, by the way.
Get the fire extinguisher. All right. Well, next up.
To each their own.
Speaking of process tech, Samsung scratching the 7-nanometer itch, as Jeremy so artfully put it. Why don't you tell us about this, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, with all the talk about 7-nanometer, there's one that doesn't often get discussed, which is Samsung, who are doing brilliantly at it. They're sort of laughing at everyone else and go and say, yeah, no, it's really impressive. You're catching up with us. Because they've already got the fab pretty much built. They've got not just 7-nanometer, but a almost refined 7-nanometer that's going to be ridiculously low power. So if you didn't like the thermals on that 999999900K, the Samsung is significantly less power hungry. So the Inquirer did a little bit of a look at, sort of what they've done to get here, how it is that they've sort of made EUV their bitch and are just doing it.
Extreme ultraviolet.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Groovy, dude.
And then they've come up with some interesting solutions to something that for them, the longest time we were sort of talking about, how are you going to hit 10 nanometer or sub 10 nanometer, because there's a point at which you can't focus the light anymore, and now you're masking and trying to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's sort of interesting to see how well they've been doing with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they are.
Well, supposedly, because EUV is still,
it's freaking magic.
It's problem. I mean, you're how many watts is required to power a current EUV machine? I'm going to be interested to hear more about them, because I know that they have a working 8-nanometer node that is pretty comparable to TSMC's 7-nanometer first gen. But so far nobody has done EUV in production scale type manufacturing, and it's going to be interesting to see if Samsung has actually done something that somebody else has not, and nobody else in the industry has really done.
So, what
is just not enough information in this article to tell us what is going on, and plus timelines, and I mean, it sounds great.
I mean, they do call it revolutionary.
Oh, well, yeah. Thank the Lord. But
and Huawei and Apple are pretty happy about it.
Sure, yeah.
Well, no, TSMC has produced Apple and
True.
Huawei.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Samsung hasn't produced crap. In fact, they're not even producing 8-nanometer stuff yet. I mean, they may be starting here shortly for a limited group, but I don't know. There's a lot of PR type words in there. So it's Global Foundries almost bankrupted themselves with their 7-nanometer, and TSMC has done well. I think they took a really measured approach at how they did litho, materials, and actual geometry. And I think their geometry is less aggressive than what the previous Intel 10-nanometer stuff was. But they're, of course, calling it 7-nanometer. But Intel, with their 10-nanometer specification that they started on in 2013, 2014, 2015, and has now changed in 2018. I mean, originally it was extremely aggressive in terms of geometries and materials. And I think TSMC knocked this one out of the park and saying, hey, you know what, we've got to limit some of these things. We can't go this dance. We can't introduce a bunch of new materials. We've got to work on the litho part and make sure that we get, the very first steps down pat before we start changing things up in the back end. And so I think, yeah, they're on a roll, and they made a lot of really good decisions multiple years ago that has, seriously bitten Intel Global Foundries, Samsung in the ass. And so it's going to be interesting to see in 2019 who actually comes out with a working product and who can actually throw the wafers through the fab.
Yeah.
Well, and who's got space? Right, because
TSMC probably does not have enough space for everybody that's going to want their 7 nanometer process. But they're going to pick and choose, and they're going to make some money.
Oh, yeah. Well, what, they're the exclusive provider of the new Apple chips?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's just...
AMD, they're the exclusive of AMD GPUs and CPUs of 2019.
Just a bit of business.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Josh. Next up is a post from Jeremy on a new Seasonic Focus Plus series.
I see what they did there.
I think they did that. I think Jeremy did that.
Yeah,
do not attempt to adjust your television
Kyle is a
sets.
much better photographer than that, but...
Yes. That is, for our audio listeners, the Focus branded power supply is out of focus in the picture.
Uh-huh.
But it's this is a nice little compact power supply, fully modular. It's Seasonic's good brand, $80. Not too bad.
That's really the big thing. Is it pretty much spanked all of the other similar models that they did tested against, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, $80 for Seasonic is a damn good price.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Platinum is almost as good, but because it's 80 plus Platinum, you're paying an arm and a leg for saving, $3 over the course of a year, $5 over the course of a year.
Yeah.
It's about saving the planet, Jeremy.
Yes,
not your wallet.
and good on you if you're that responsible. If you're not, it's really good, and keep an eye because they do sales fairly often on the Focuses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never used a Focus brand, but I mean I've used Seasonic supplies over the years. Just not that line that they have, but pretty good specs for a nice compact system like the one Ken built. That would have fit in there nicely.
We tried to build it
with a more robust. Ken, you got to show them the money shot.
The money shot. Which one?
The interior of the power supply.
Them caps.
Which is actually rather pretty.
Is it build quality?
Build quality.
Build quality? Yeah, probably.
I guess. Oh, there we go.
Come on,
There we go.
Whoa. There you go.
Jesus.
Wow.
That is that's
it's nice.
We need a better image viewer for hard OCP.
Everything's so nicely
That's
wrapped.
a nice, clean build, and you can tell it's also economically done.
Mm-hmm. That's well engineered.
Yeah. Yeah, look at the PCB. Look at the bottom picture.
They know what they're doing. And there's no dangly bit hanging down like last week.
Look at that.
Yeah, dangly bits.
That is some clean solder work, too.
They train those robots well.
Yeah.
Those 6-year-olds got small hands.
That's definitely not a person doing that.
Very nice. All right, so that's the Seasonic Focus Focus Plus Gold 550 watt power supply for about $80, fully modular. Not a bad deal. All right, next up we've got another post from Jeremy. Jeremy's always very productive.
We're in the Jeremy segment.
Yeah, it's an RGB mousepad because. That's the thing.
We heard you like RGBs, so we put some RGBs under your RGBs.
We have to take RGB to its natural conclusion.
Yeah.
And
this is not the first RGB mousepad I've seen, but
no, it is not.
Cooler Master MP860. And it looks like it's got your choice of hard or soft tops.
Oh, no, it's reversible.
Oh, right. Or you just flip it? Or the top comes out and flips?
No, you flip it over. So one side's aluminium, the other side's cloth. And depending on what you like, you go flop, 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 and take a pick.
And that's...
so at least that's interesting about it. The blinkenlichten,
so we got it. Tech Report has the full review of the product. And it looks like it is $70. That's right.
God.
Yeah.
You could almost have a power supply for that.
Yeah, but then... what are you gonna? What RGBs are you gonna power with that power supply? You gotta think with RGB first, then work backwards.
Maybe you could tape one of these to the power supply and make it RGB.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, if you like, I mean, there's RGB and there's RGB. You can do it tastefully. If you like to go all out, I guess, something like this is worth it. And I know Corsair has one, I think, that has RGB.
I'm sure.
Logitech maybe. So there's options out there. You're going to pay more for it, but if you like that look, man, do what you got to do. It's your money. But yeah, check out the full review of the tech report if you're interested in that. The Cooler Master MP860 dual surface RGB LED mousepad, $70. All right,
but it has 19 lighting zones.
It sure does. So looking at a web browser, switching to software for a moment, we've got another post from Jeremy. This is on the Vivaldi web browser. I recall
still making that, huh?
Yeah, hearing about that a couple years ago, but they're at 2.0.
Huh.
Have you used this, Jeremy or Josh?
No.
I got as far as downloading it and importing my bookmarks, and it was like, oh crap, I got to do real things again, right? Shit.
I mean, it's running Chromium, so in terms of rendering, you're not looking at anything unique there. But the whole point is it's very feature focused, kind of user feature request. They were talking about in this release how they I guess more than half of the features that they introduced were directly requested by users, which they bragged about. But I guess shouldn't that be like normal?
Oh, that's not always the case.
I mean, shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it doesn't happen, but shouldn't it happen?
Well, one of the nice things that I sort of I was reading it and going, wow, I can't believe I've not heard of this in a long time, and I totally forgot about it, is when you're setting up a user, like you would for your Chrome or whatever, by creating that password, it means that every single bit of data going back and forth about your user profile is now encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
Not something you get from your Firefoxes or Edges.
That's true. I mean, Chrome encrypts it, right? When you sync via
Chrome does.
Yeah. So that's good to have, and it looks like it has some really interesting tab management and bookmark management. I mean, I have not. I think I might have used Vivaldi 1.0 when it first came out a couple years, three or 4 years ago now. But I haven't tried this one yet.
It's good to see people still putting effort into browser development.
Yeah, I mean, Chrome is
not great.
It's not great. It's dominant in the market, but it's not great. Obviously, the parent company that makes it is doing a lot of questionable things.
It's also a great memory tester.
Yeah, that's true too. The platter of RAM offered up.
It's a cabal between the browser manufacturers and the RAM manufacturers.
And then you look at Firefox obviously is doing some good things and has always been it's always had some positive aspects to it. And even with this new quantum initiative where they've really sped it up, it still doesn't really have the same feel. I mean, I've tried to switch to Firefox a couple times and it just didn't take. Really? Edge is not. I mean, Edge. Look, I get what Microsoft's trying to do, but man, it doesn't have the features. I don't want to ask Cortana. I just want to search in Google or whatever when I right click and search. So that's not good. And and if you're on a Mac, you got Safari, and just be careful with Safari 12. A few bugs they got to iron out on that new version. But
what about Netscape navigators?
Netscape, I'm sure you can find a download.
Sweet.
I'm sure you could still run it in one way or another. But yeah, I mean, having Opera. We always forget about Opera.
Yeah. Well, hasn't Opera just switched to WebKit?
Yes, but
yeah, it has.
But they've got their, I think the big thing. The last time I checked out Opera, the big thing was they would automatically compress the data server side when you requested it from a website and then stream it down, so you use less bandwidth.
Interesting.
Which is less of a concern.
Yeah, but real techies use PuTTY.
Yeah, sure.
Just find a back door into the web server of the website you want to visit.
But I mean, yeah, seeing a third-party browser, even if it doesn't. It's obviously, I mean, because we all forgot about it. It's obviously not captured the mind share that they had hoped. But hey, Ars Technica's got the full coverage of this. They did a great article when the first Vivaldi came out a few years ago. So head on over there and check that out, and see, maybe it's time to switch browsers. Who knows? Yeah. They're rocking a dedicated search box.
Nice.
That is nostalgic.
Yeah.
I wonder though. So do you do Control K, and then Tab? What was the old way before everything was unified in the address bar?
Remember.
think it's Control K tab, and then that takes you over. Maybe there's a dedicated key shortcuts, but
F3 used to bounce you up there, but I don't think it does anymore.
yeah. Well, check it out, Vivaldi 2.0, free browser to just try as an alternative. All right, and looking at, okay, so we got some news, some storage news. Jeremy wrote this post, but I'm sure Alan has something to say about this.
Yeah, it's more related to Crosspoint in general than specifically to Optane. At the way that Crosspoint, which is branded as Optane under Intel, and is branded as QuantX under Micron, all of that media is produced in the fab in Lehigh, Utah. That is the IMFT fab, which is a joint venture between Micron and Intel, which is winding down. There have been several posts in the past recently.
So is the fab winding down or just the partnership?
No, the partnership is winding down.
So the fab's at 100% because everybody likes memory.
Well, they're still cranking this stuff out. Intel is still selling it. What's confusing about all this is because Micron hasn't typically been the one to push 3D Crosspoint. They did some demos at some flash memory summits, but they haven't really been like marketing products and doing that. That's all pretty much been Intel. You know, all these Optane SSD launches left and right you've seen over the past couple of years. That's all been Intel. And I would imagine that Intel's probably been buying Micron's half that they're producing from the fab because it's like 49-51%, but it's basically a 50-50 split of, you know, they put in money for buying the equipment and the research and all that stuff, and then they just agree to mutually split what comes out of the fab. But if one company wants to sell it and the other company doesn't, then they can just kind of sell it to the other side, you know, for whatever the, you know, production cost is or whatnot. But Micron is apparently going, or at least they've announced that they intend to exercise their option to buy out Intel's half of the fab. So this doesn't mean that Intel can't make 3D Crosspoint anymore. It's just that once a transition happens, which I think they have like up to a year or something after Micron exercises that option to like figure out how to do that transition and everything. It's just that Intel won't be making it at that fab. They're more than welcome to make it, you know, anywhere else they want. It's not as if Micron is not buying out Intel's ability to produce the technology. Mm-hmm. They're just buying out that location. That's not to say that it might put Intel in a little bit of a hard spot because, again, Intel's the one selling all the items that have this media in it. And I don't know that Intel can spin up another fab in a year unless, of course, maybe they've already been planning on it. Nobody really knows what's going on there. I would think that Intel wouldn't.
I don't know. Throw something at the guy behind you.
Well, you know, but if you think about it, it's not like this was some secret or, you know, this is part of an agreement. This is an option that both parties were aware of. So I don't think it's really taking anybody by surprise other than kind of me initially, just because it seems weird to see Micron as the side that wants to buy out the fab since they're not the ones really pushing the technology. On the flip side, if they decide that they now want to start pushing the technology, all they got to do is ride Intel's coattails because they've already plowed the whole way on like all the, you know, the potential benefits for using that particular kind of technology and all of its applications and everything. So, if anything, it's saving them effort in that front. But that all goes on the assumption that Micron's actually going to do something with it. I would hope so because we need more. You know, I want the stuff to catch on more. Yeah,
I mean competition in that for that.
Well, yeah,
form of memory.
I want more competition. Yeah. Generally speaking, that's great, and also it's as a media, it's a very like cool technology, right? You know, I mean, this is essentially phase change. This is a thing that was talked about for decades and decades, and it was always one of those things that was always 5 years away, and then all of a sudden we started getting SSDs with the stuff in it. So, you know, cool stuff.
I want more lasers in my SSDs.
You want freaking lasers?
Yeah. I want freaking lasers because, you know, they got lasers in spindle drives. I want my lasers in SSDs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
okay, it's not going to happen
the laser
with those stacked dies, but whatever.
Ken and I were actually having we sort of broached the subject just about like what happens with temperature on like Crosspoint. Is it the same as Flash? Do you want to run, if you have Crosspoint, are you worried about if it's running warmer or cooler? And like everything we know, we don't have any official word on this, but just on what we know about how the technology works, it should be way more robust long term than Flash. You shouldn't have to worry about endurance nearly as much. And just going off of the ratings of the stuff, we know that the ratings are like always these crazy ratings, like 10 drive writes per day for a 900p or a 905p, which is not supposed to be an enterprise part, but that's an enterprise grade spec for how much writing you could do to that thing. So, you know, it should be pretty robust and not have to worry about cells leaking electrons over time and things like that. So, you know, yeah, I want it to catch on more. I want that to be 10 cents a gig, not Flash.
Oh, God.
Right?
Now that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Now that Ryan's gone, I'm taking over that thing, and I'm making it. Crosspoint needs to be 10 cents a gig.
Well, here
We're doomed.
Yeah,
here.
Doomed.
it's where it needs to go. I'm sure one day it'll get there. Who knows?
Well, someday eventually you're gonna go through like a PC budget bin and you're gonna pull this stuff out. It's like, oh, I remember this. This was called Optane.
This was called SATA.
What?
It's next to my DDR2 DIMM.
No, but yeah, but everybody will have forgotten and they'll call it SATA,
That's true.
and then everybody will go nuts. Right, Jeremy?
It's true.
Cache.
As long as you don't call it
Cache.
sex
I
ports.
mean,
Or
I'm
cache.
still missing my old ribbon whips that were labeled master and slave. I mean,
Oh, dear.
that was a thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, we talked about this a little earlier. We alluded to it. So let's dive in a little more. Going back to the i9-9900K, and Josh's cat has also made an appearance.
Ooh,
Say hi, kitty. What's that kitty's name again?
Oh, Rainy.
Rainy.
Is that because it was raining on your back porch and it was meowing in the rain?
Well, no, because some friends of ours saw this truck come to a complete halt on a rainy night, and they threw something out of the truck,
Oh,
and it was her.
geez, that got dark.
That's a shame.
Good kitty.
Well, she is
Well,
a
It
good
was a
kitty.
dark and rainy night.
Now she's got
It was.
people taking care of her, so good on you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so
Sorry,
Back to
that was a cat
99.
break.
Back
yeah, I know.
to the.
I'm a
know.
sucker for kitty cats. Sorry. Back to the 9900K. So you've got who did this? TechSpot. TechSpot did a look at thermal paste versus solder.
Yeah.
And at stock, sure. At overclock,
You can make 5.1 instead of 5.
yeah.
I mean, it's something.
Where's
you
the
know.
chart? I'm looking for the chart.
Like literally, they're 3 to 5 degrees.
yeah.
Yeah.
5 degrees is not.
I mean, 87 to 78 is not horrible, but for crying out loud, I mean, you're delitting the thing,
Yeah.
ripping off the stem, lapping the inside of the integrated heat sink, and putting it back together again,
Sounds fun.
and hoping you don't kill things in between then and there.
Don't worry. It's only an unobtainium $500 processor.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
so true.
you mean
I
$580 processor?
Theoretically killed your theoretical processor. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're interested and if you're doing overclocking competitions, well, hell yeah, do it. But honestly, it's such a big argument over such a small thing. People have been screaming about the moving the move from solder and dealing with it. But honestly, every time they do this, and Kyle went over at Hard OCP did the same damn thing, it doesn't make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like we're hitting some limits on that 14 nanometer process. No.
Yeah. They're squeezing
I
all they can
remember
out.
back when we were talking about 3D chips, and the fact that now you've got pieces of the processor where you can't move heat out of because it's got to transfer through the entire processor, and that's sort of the thing with this is the die itself is so bloody big. The hot spots are so far inside of it that it's not going to help that much.
Yeah.
Design is key.
Mm.
People don't realize it, but okay, maybe some do. Probably those working in CPU design understand. But there's, you're dealing with billions of transistors. And just as the saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to place all those transistors together to get better performance, better power consumption, whatnot. But when you're dealing with billions and billions of transistors, it's hard. And design is hard. And it truly trumps process technology at least one generation. I mean, we can look back at AMD with their original Athlon 64. They were running a process node behind Intel with the Pentium 4, and that is probably the best example of design versus process advantage that you can ever find. So, now that I've gotten off my soapbox, let's continue.
All right.
Well, we're going to prop you right back up on it,
Talking
Josh.
about design, GPU design at least. So we settled on Navi, right? Or Navi.
There was no consensus.
There was no consensus. Okay, well, that next thing from AMD, their next GPU, the one that will really turn things around, 7 nanometers. Looks like we got some more information. The Inquirer says that the chips are in testing. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sadly, a lot of people were saying, oh, great, these things are going to be out sooner than expected. And the answer to that is no, it's not. 7 nanometer GPUs will be available in the next 3 months from AMD. But those are Vega based 7 nanometer products that will be going directly to data center.
Oh.
They're not going to be going to consumers as far as I know. I could be wrong, but from where AMD was talking in Q1 and Q2 in their kind of conference calls, they're going to be data center based Vegas. Navi is going to be a next year product, but it looks like it's going to be a nice jump up from Polaris and possibly Vega. But I think that it is more aimed at the mid-range rather than the high end with the first parts. So we're going to see. But yeah, don't hold your breath. Navi is not going to be here anytime soon. They're in the labs, which means you're 6 months at least out before you see consumer products. Probably more like 8 months, if not a year.
If it's a year, do you think that's too long?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they're going to be, probably May to June is when we'll see the first GPUs from AMD based on this product.
And just to clarify, and you think mid-range is they're going to initially launch with? Or that's more likely?
More likely, yes.
Well, you heard it here.
Not first, but you heard it here.
Straight from the walrus's mouth.
Oh, well, there's worse places you can hear it from.
I guess so. I guess. Oh, well, is that it? Is that the show?
No, there's one more.
Okay,
one more thing.
That didn't load for some reason.
That's normal.
All right, so there's one more pick here, and this one's pretty cool. The New California Republic, which is a fan-made, I'd call it it's like a total conversion mod, basically. It's like an add-on. But it's for New Vegas, not Fallout 4, not Fallout 76. Good old Obsidian Entertainment's New Vegas, one of my favorite games of all time. And you seem pretty amped up about this, Jeremy. Why don't you tell us?
And in theory, you can actually go into the New Vegas campaign after playing this.
It takes place like 20 years before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so you may find out why you deserve to get shot in the head again. No, this has been going for a bloody long time. It was originally Project Brazil back before Fallout 4 was a thing. But they, as always, programming expands to fulfill however many people you've got to toss at it. And so it did. It took in this long, and it's officially a beta. So it's not fully finished in that, well, I mean, it's a game that's going to have a lot of bugs, and now that we're all playing it, they're going to come out, and you'll start seeing some more fixes come out. But if you don't want to wait, I mean, honestly, you pick up the Vortex mod manager, which will pretty much handle all of the downloads of it, because it's not just you're not just looking at downloading the total conversion mod. There's numerous other mods that go along with it to make it look like they did. Because, I mean, this is the thing, is that because it's New Vegas, it's not as pretty as we remember. It was, about 8 years ago that this came out. On the other hand, you've got the large address aware patch. You've got the widescreen patches. You've got a bunch of new textures. The faces are still going to look a little bit weird, and you might even get 2 playthroughs through it, because depending on how you do it, you'll either get one that's more combat based as far as the storyline goes. And honestly, I am still trying to deal with downloading all the mods and getting it working on a Threadripper with 3 screens.
Oh, geez.
Strangely enough, New Vegas is a little bit confused about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why. But so you either end up with a storyline more focused on combat, or a storyline more focused on science. With the Raider Warlords are just kicking off. New Reno is just trying to come in. The Enclave are assholes as always. She and the Super Mutants, which is going to be probably bigger than it was in New Vegas itself. And, of course, the NCR. It looks really interesting. They've got a lot of talent behind it. I forget what the count is on it, but there's well over 100 people working on it. Voice actors through programmers. And, as you can see, textures, well, it looks like Fallout, because, well, Fallout ain't changed shit. How many years?
Yeah.
But the faces, you're going to look at it and go, okay, yeah, I remember. That's when that was the pinnacle of facial animation.
Well, I think when New Vegas came out, well, Fallout 3 first, but they were a little behind the times even then.
Well,
yeah.
Is fishing.
It's amazing people can come together and do this for the love of the game, stuff like this. That's so much work. And it's just awesome.
Honestly, it does look good.
Yeah.
One of the trends lately, one of the unfortunate trends, is that fan-made mods and fan-made games of licensed IPs are getting shut down left and right, it seems. Like there was an Old Republic remake that just got killed.
Sure.
Some of the Sierra games.
This is a bit different because it's original IP to some degree.
Well, it's all the lore of what they're using is baked into that series.
I had not having played it. If making a Star Wars game, you don't have the intellectual property to do.
Sure.
But taking the assets from Fallout and repurposing them, and I don't know if they use the same character names or stuff like that.
I don't know about
it's a finer line than just making
sure.
Something
and
like
I don't want to necessarily draw attention to it and get it killed, but it's great that this came out, because a lot of these projects, a lot of the passionate fans are extremely talented and they come up with some amazing stuff.
Yeah,
and I was Fallout 4 was a little underwhelming. I thought. And then I was really disappointed when I found out Fallout 76 is a online thing, because I don't do online gaming. I don't.
Yeah, I like single player campaigns and games.
Yeah,
no, I have literally no interest in Fallout 76 whatsoever.
So something like this, it would be. And plus, I haven't played it in a couple years, so playing, if I can get this going, play that campaign, then jump back in and replay New Vegas.
Yeah,
that's a good weekend right there. Well, if I can get my wife and son out of town, that'd be a nice weekend. Awesome. So
damn it, I don't have it installed on this one. But there's also a Fallout 1.5, which is a mod of the original Fallout.
Oh, like the 2.5.
Yeah, the old isometric, what Fallout was meant to be. Not that I'm biased or anything at all whatsoever. No, but so it takes place between Fallout 1 and 2, and is a hell of a lot of fun. And again, you grab Fallout 1 on good old games if you don't have it kicking around for like $2.
Yeah, and I think Steam has them pretty cheap too, if you prefer to shop there. Yeah, you gotta play those games. You haven't played New Vegas?
I didn't play through it.
Man.
And it, like when it first came out, I played some of it and got distracted by something.
Yeah.
I should go back.
Yeah, it's
XGPK, or how the hell do you say XGP core? Anyways, that's a pick that I did a long time ago. Was Enderall. It's a mod for Skyrim that's just been published to Steam with a huge update, a couple of new quests, and it's just so beautifully European. Like, you're gonna die. You're gonna die over and over again, and in the end, it was all worth nothing. But it's a beautiful mod.
Nice.
So I highly recommend that one again if you haven't played it.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's dive into the picks of the week. I do not have a pick because I wasn't planning to be sitting here. We're not really on top of this.
Sitting there.
We're just like, hey, Jim, go do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My pick, you know what my pick is? PCPER. Patreon.com/PCPER.
Good pick.
You're going to really feel good about yourself. So that's my pick. And Jeremy, you've got a good pick for us here.
I do? Oh, sorry. I was trying to search who originally posted Ryan getting dusted. That was you. Post it again, please. What the heck did I pick anyways? Oh, right. iFixit. And, of course, it's going to be bloody Motorola that does this because, well, guess what? You probably don't have a Motorola phone. But they're selling kits to replace freaking everything. Like, not just the batteries and that, but if you scroll down a little bit, you can get your screen and digitizer. Again, for like $100, $80, depending on what it is. All the tools, step-by-step instructions on how to fix your phone, as opposed to standing in line and buying the new iPhone X12. I can't believe it's actually taken this long. And I'm also upset at how much they're charging for guitar picks, but that's just me.
Well, iFixit's got to make its money somewhere. So
that was Radioactive Lobster.
The user replaceable future that we all dreamed of has finally been delivered by Motorola.
Yeah, the company that doesn't do anything.
Well, I guess, I mean, this isn't really Motorola. I guess I would hope they're sourcing the parts from a Motorola approved or spec'd supplier. But I guess this is iFixit selling them. So, so we all need to thank.
And it's an official partnership.
Oh, it is.
It's not
Okay,
just iFixit doing it.
Nice.
This is coming directly from them.
Wow.
Well, that's good to see.
It's taken them long enough.
We got to. I'm sure. Lewis Rossman would be very happy about this. He's the YouTuber who's all about the right to repair stuff. Yeah. So that's good to see for the 7 people who have a Motorola phone still.
Yeah.
Hey, now.
Wait,
you don't have a Motorola
You don't have a
phone,
do
do
you?
you?
Oh, it's
My wife
LG,
does.
isn't it? Never mind. I was like, I've already placed the battery in. Never mind.
All right, Josh, what do you got for us?
Monitors. I love monitors.
They love
And
you
this
too.
is a rather inexpensive. Okay, so there are a couple of downsides. It's 27-inch and only 1080p.
Ooh,
But it's a good quality
144.
product. It's FreeSync.
yeah, FreeSync.
And after using FreeSync with an AMD card, and especially at 1080p, it's pretty smooth through the vast majority of games that I've played. It makes a huge difference. I go upstairs to my regular 60 hertz monitors on an NVIDIA 1070, and it's not nearly as fun. It's just, you get the chunks, you get the 60 hertz,
Judder.
you get the drops, all those fun things. And with this, it's a 27-inch. It's a lot of, it's plenty of space.
Got
It's a
that
decent
nice subtle
stand. You
curve
can
to
do
it.
decent things with it. And it's curved for Alan's pleasure. It's a VA panel, so you don't have TN crap. And it's $229, and you can find it oftentimes for less.
Pretty good price.
Yeah, price is right.
Yeah.
I mean, although I'm still really sensitive to like pixel density. I don't above 24 inches. I'd like to go to 1440 or.
No, I
maybe it's
understand.
fancy as you.
In desktop work, when you're doing, word processing, picture editing, stuff like that, DPI is kind of king.
Yeah.
When I'm playing a game,
Not so much.
not nearly as much. It looks pretty good, especially with the FreeSync that's working.
All right. Well, $229 for the Acer Curved ED273 Adipix. Is that a name or is that
Edipix Rex? What?
That's part of their model number.
A Bitpix.
Yeah.
A bit. Okay. Well,
It has an Adipix complex.
just go to PCPER.com and get the show
it
link
is
in the
an
show
ED
notes.
model.
You'll find it. All right. Thanks, Josh. Okay, and we got Ken. What happened here?
You're
There
on
we
the
go.
menu.
Okay.
So SSDs have become fairly inexpensive in the past couple of months. We've seen a lot of deals that are sub 20 cents a gigabyte. Still not quite 10, but you can hit 14, 15, or what this SSD is at 17 cents a gig pretty easily these days. But, there have to be different differentiating factors now. And one way you could go is with an RGB SSD, like the Team Group T-Force Delta RGB, which we've actually taken a look at the office. And
Hey, that one's black. We have the white one.
It comes in black and white. You see the two options there.
I
on
like
the
the look
page.
of that one better than the
but
white
it
one.
doesn't matter if you're black or white.
It's on sale for $120 now with a $35 off promo code, taking down to 17 cents a gig for this 500 gig option. And well, yes, the RGB thing is kind of played out. This one actually looks really cool. The LEDs are diffused really well. There's a lot of LEDs in there.
I think it's 8 channels or something.
Yeah. It has actually a lot of capability. It looks really cool when lit up.
Yeah. It does look cool. And it's not completely a gimmick because the SSD isn't a bad performer.
No. It's a perfectly good SATA SSD with this RGB feature, which, I mean, don't keep it on the rainbow effect all the time, but if you're going with it, build with a sort of black and red color scheme or something, you can have a red.
And it has the
LED on your SSD.
It has the 4-pin input on it, so if you've got a header on your motherboard already.
Oh, so you can get it to sync with your.
Yeah, it's completely separate from the serial ATA
you
interface.
don't need to install additional software. You could just use the header on your motherboard. And
you don't even have to hook it up to your system. You could just have the RGBs going.
Sure, if you want the stupid rainbow effect.
That's an expensive RGB
Put them
panel.
on the wall and get nice. Yeah.
So,
and so if you're going to do that, you got to pick up those Lian Li friggin' streamer power cables, right?
No. Well,
So you can have RGBs into your RGBs.
Too many RGBs. All right, 1 second. I think I screwed something
Jim's got to
up.
open a thing. But my pick, not RGB, even though the previous model SSD that came out with this name was RGB enabled, but you could only choose red or green or blue.
So malicious compliance.
Yes, the strict definition of RGB SSD. So something to look out for. We haven't looked
Problem
at this.
between the and or the or, right?
Yeah. So this popped up on Newegg. 905p M.2. I bring this up now because there have been probably over a dozen people that have emailed me about, hey, I really want to do Optane, but I need it to be M.2 to fit in my system, sort of thing. Now, jury's still out on if this is going to fit in your system because it's M.2 22110, not 2280.
Oh.
So some ports on some motherboards might have might not have the extra standoff in the extended space. There just might not be space on the board for this, or they might have some special kind of heatsink configuration where it's part of the Southbridge or chipset or whatever, and you might have to where the heatsink kind of splits in half, and part of it's meant to cover the M.2.
Hey, look, it's got the screw-in plate.
It's got the screw-in plate. Well, so here's the other thing. But
you gotta have a long thing.
That heatsink is pretty sexy looking. They had EK design their heatsink.
Nice heatsink.
That's a nice
I'll give
looking
it that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. That's pretty sharp. I
25 days.
Yeah,
We'll know in 25 days.
It launches pretty soon. I don't know if they're going to sample it yet. I just saw it pop up on Newegg.
Pre-order one of these because no one's tested it. So
no one's tested it. We don't know what the performance is going to look like. I'm pretty sure it's going to be faster than your Optane memory parts, which were the M.2 things that this is probably superseding. It's probably going to be closer to a desktop 905p than to a Optane memory SSD. But again, like we have no idea right now. We know zero details on this.
And it's expensive.
And it is expensive.
Not 17 cents a gig.
No, this is over $1 a gig, but it's pretty much in line with the 905Ps, the other ones that are like full-size cards. Maybe there's like a few % premium cost per gig, probably just considering they're trying to shoehorn the entire thing into an M.2 package.
So yeah, take your $500 and pre-order that just because.
I mean, hey, it's cheaper than a 99-100K, like i9, you know.
Well, I mean, they both exist at about the same extent. Debatable. Just buy it. You'll regret it if you don't.
No.
Just buy it. Just pre-order it. Come on.
I bring it up as a pick is for something to keep an eye on, see what goes on there. See if there's a review at some point on it. We don't know because, again, it's not something
Intel.
It's not something Intel told me about. It's just like, hey, look at on Newegg. There's this thing listed that we can get, and like we had no idea was coming.
Yeah, they stopped talking to us recently for some reason.
They just don't like us anymore.
All right. Well, hey, folks, that's the show. Thanks so much for sticking with us.
Good Lord, it's like 2 hours, and we haven't had anything to talk about.
I know. We just gab and gab and gab.
Ryan took up all that time at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that anymore.
That's all right.
Yeah, he's out of here. PCPER.com/podcast is where you'll find our shows. PCPER.com/live if you want to join us live when we do go live. That's Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. I think I said 7 p.m. Central last time, and they really gave me hell for it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We give you hell for anything.
Yeah, but no one important lives in Central Time, so don't worry about it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you mess up. We're going to give you hell.
Yeah, that's all right. PCPER.com/subscribe, which is our mailing list where we usually remember to send out a note when we're about to go live. It's all we use it for. We don't sell it or anything. And do not go to Twitter.com/Ryan Shrout if you want to talk about PCPER stuff. Go there to harass Ryan Shrout personally. But don't, for us, you want to go to Twitter.com/PCPER or Twitter.com/Ken Addison. Is that the handle?
Ken_Addison.
Ken,
jeez.
Yeah. Where's the real Ken Addison then?
I don't know.
Ken Addison Prime?
Maybe you could harass Ken Addison into giving me. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
But again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week. I know this is a big change, a lot of stuff. We've all been going through a lot of emotions. We owe this all to Ryan. We appreciate it, and he's done everything he can to set us up for success. And we'll be back next week. We hope you join us. Thanks.
See you guys.